Today on the 1012 Big Show, I am joined by Scott McFarland, Bobby Malvaez, and Sam Razz to recap the weekend that was for the Big 12, including why you need to watch the Big 12 on TNT. It's very important, people. Plus, Chase A. Kiddy joins us to talk about the teams he's up and down on after the weekend, and a really weird line, early look at one for a Big 12 game coming up next weekend. All that coming up on the 1012 Big Show.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for the stay.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you.
Ooh.
Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
Welcome to the 1012 Big Show, where we recap the weekend of Big 12 action with a variety of guests. This week, that includes Scott McFarland and good friends Sam and Bobby from Scott and Holman Podcast. The 1012 Podcast, of course, is the flagship show of the 1012 Network. Find every show on the network at 1012network.com. That's TEN, the number 12, the word network.com. We're also partners with Sports Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. I'm your host, Phillip Slavin. Thank you for joining us. I apologize for the lack of episodes last week. You know what? Life happens, and poor technology happens, and storms happen, and Verizon is the worst, period. That said, wherever you are listening, please do us a favor. Leave 5 stars and a positive review, and I really appreciate it. It really does help the show out, especially if you're on iTunes. And, of course, if you are listening on YouTube, do us a favor, like this episode. Leave a comment and subscribe. We would really, really appreciate it. I did get a recent review on the old iTunes, and so I wanted to shout that person out because it's been a little while. But shout out to Chicken Fried Tex, who said, "Love the grab bag format. Been listening for a long time, and always struggle with the co-hosts on the regular Monday show." All right, well, we're not going to sit here and bag on Andy and Jamie. That's fine. Having more of the grab bag format and different cast of characters each week has been a breath of fresh air. Ball knowers galore. Also love the weekly betting picks. Have for years. Great work, Phil. Well, I appreciate that. I'm enjoying this format as well. Keeps things fresh. Keeps things interesting. Always interesting when I get to have some really good guests on. And so for our first segment each week, we go in the rotation. We go from a collection of guests that we bring on each week. Joining us this week is the man providing a cathartic outlet for Kansas State fans, though they're not in as much of a need as one this week after Saturday's performance. That is the host of Boscoe's Boys, our Kansas State show, Scott McFarland.
I'm so pumped to be back. A little bit sunburnt. I didn't put on enough SPF after sitting in the stadium, but it feels good to see a win. And you know what they say about hope? It's a dangerous thing. So let's see what happens over the next 6.5 days and see if I'm still feeling cheery this time next week. But hey, I'm going to take any win I can get this season. So
wait, what SPF did you use? Because everything over 20 is a scam.
Oh, well, I didn't at all. I was just trying to lie to the folks and be like, hey, I was responsible knowing I was going to be in the sun. I will say this. I was wearing a hat and wearing a specific long sleeve shirt that was very breathable to keep sun off of my arms. So I took some precautions. It's not coming through on the video, but, you know, a little bit of burn on the neck and on one of the sides of my face. So I was just trying to lie to the people because I think you should wear some version of sunscreen. Maybe not. Maybe you're a truther. I don't know your stance on it, but I was just trying to be responsible and lie to the listeners.
I appreciate that. Great way to start a show. And, of course, also joining us for this segment, the hosts of the best Houston podcast out there. That's the Scott and Holman Podcast, Pawdcast. If this is your first time here, and we like to assume that every show is someone's first. Sam, Bobby, fellas, welcome to the 1012, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, super excited to be on. I love the show. I love being a part of the network. So, excited to talk some Big 12 football.
And I like to mention this anytime I'm talking to someone who's a Houston fan or a Houston show. I'm recording this from the same neighborhood that the savior of the Houston football program lived the first, 25 years of his life here in Shawnee, Kansas. So just a half mile away from Shawnee Mission Northwest, where Willie Fritz went to school and got his coaching, career started. So
I knew within the first sentence this was going to be about Willie Fritz being from your specific part of Kansas.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. On Friday night, I could hear the marching band at the high school from my backyard. So you guys are welcome. And, please never play us again. We can't win it. We can't beat them. So
you can just we'll hit each other up in the DMs afterwards, and y'all can figure out how to send Scott some thanks. That'd be excellent. Before we dive into games, quick shout out to TNT. Their treatment of the Big 12 so far this season has been incredible. That is despite, until this week, the caliber of games that they had been able to get on air. They were football games, to be nice. This week, of course, Cincinnati, Kansas, fantastic game. Not for Kansas fans, but a fantastic football game. It's the best Big 12 coverage we've seen in a very long time. And listen, at this point, I kind of associate it like if you've been in a relationship for a long time, and you go, and you know it's not great, but you know what? You've been in this relationship. You put a lot into it. Okay, it's been good. It's been good. You think it's pretty good. Your friends are telling you it's not great, but you know what? It's everyone just needs to calm down. It's not that bad. And then the relationship ends, and then you meet someone new, and they like you for who you are. They treat you nice. They encourage you. They make you feel like you're a good person, and you wake up in the morning happy and like, man, this is what a loving relationship is like. That is the Big 12's current relationship with the TNT.
What are you talking about? I've never heard anything like this, Phillip.
Scott, we'll worry about your dating life in the DMs as well. Look, especially given the decline of ESPN's coverage and Fox, which at this point seemed like it might be fun, but Big Noon is pretty good, minus Timu Pat McAfee. TNT has provided us with the best Big 12 football coverage, the best broadcast. If they care about the Big 12, it is all Big 12. It's akin to a Big 12 network. You are getting what ABC is giving the SEC and what NBC and Peacock are giving the Big 10. It's phenomenal. And so I will make this final point here. Big 12 fans, when the TV contract comes up in 2030, you want TNT in there with a large check to make sure that they get good games and continue to invest in the Big 12. This is how you grow. You need someone to value the Big 12 above all others. Yeah, they might try and get some Mountain West or some Conference USA so they can have a little bit more football, but you want TNT to say, hey, we want more Big 12 football. We want to spend more on it. We want a playoff game, because that is where the Big 12 is going to be able to grow from a financial standpoint. So when the games are on TNT, when they're doing pregame, when they're doing Big 12 shows during the week, it's on TNT, it's on a True TV, it's on HBO Max. You got 3 different ways to watch it. Put it on. I don't care if you put it on in another room because you're watching a different game. I don't care if you put it on because you got to go because you got your daughter's soccer matches all day. Put the dang game on and leave it on. And if you're going to watch it, but put it on. Because the best thing in the world for the Big 12 right now is for the TNT to find continually increasing value in having the Big 12 on their network.
Well, and not only that's a great point. When the time comes, Big 12 fans need to be supportive of some of the initiatives TNT wants to do. I think it was floated out there. I can't remember if it was this summer or early on in the winter in 2025, but there was that story that I think Sports Business Journal put out there of TV partner, thinking about a 10 a.m. slot, right, for the Big 12, and that was TNT. TNT is trying to find a way, and it sounds like from what I've heard from folks at K-State and a couple other athletic departments I've talked to, it sounds like TNT is trying to work on a deal with ESPN to get more Big 12 games next year. They are eyeing trying to create that 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern time slot so they could have 2 games a week, an early game and then an afternoon game. And they're trying to kind of jump the gun on the big noon game and the ABC 11 a.m. game and give an alternate to that final hour of those pregame shows to try to get folks hooked in to one of those East Coast games early. So if that comes up and we're trying to, as a Big 12 fan populace, to get TNT to invest and do more with the Big 12, be enthusiastic about that if it does come to fruition, because they are trying to get a sublease of 12 to 13 more games for next football season.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the Kansas Cincy game. Good production quality. Not super surprised either. Just like they Turner took over the French Open earlier summer for all my tennis heads out there, and I watched a decent chunk of it, and they did a fantastic job across all their platforms. And yeah, would very much welcome more Big 12 football. It would also very, very much welcome an 8 a.m. local time college football. I would love to wake up and like 15 minutes later have college football on. So I'm very much in favor of what Scott mentioned there. Sorry, Bobby, I stepped on you right there.
No, you were fine. I love the TNT coverage. You guys are right. I think it's really good, really high quality coverage there. Actually, I know it doesn't seem like it makes a huge difference, but I like their score bug. That actually does matter. As weird as that sounds, you can tell they actually put some thought into it. But the only thing that would have me go a little pause is I would love to see what TNT and Turner wants to do with the Olympic sports, things like that. Your women's basketball, your Big 12 championships for track and field, things like that, because as somebody who was a fan of a program that did not get great TV coverage when he was in school, and we would do listening parties where we would pull up Game Tracker and listen to our radio calls, it's really nice to have access to pretty much every U of H team that I can watch at any time. If there's a soccer game going on, I can watch that. And a lot of people don't realize that's part of the TV deal. Like, ESPN's buying those things so that they can fill that new $21 a month streaming service and get you covered for everything that you want. So my biggest thing is, yes, I want Turner for everything, but if we are going to get a big number from Turner, then what you're going to want to see is what it's going to look like when they're streaming things like that for some of those Olympic sports. Because sometimes it can be a little difficult to, convince a TV partner that, yeah, we'll just give you the big football game, but nothing else. And the reason why they want to buy live sports is that's the only place where people watch commercials now. You think about any other TV, everyone streams it. You can fast forward through commercials like that. That's why live sports is it makes so much money, because it's the only place where the viewers are forced to watch commercials. I watched the volleyball game this past weekend, and they even had commercials on ESPN Plus at the halftime of the volleyball match after the second set. So like, that's part of the TV deal and something just to kind of watch out for as you go along. What's Turner going to do with the lower tier games? I know they haven't had the best matchup so far, but they were still getting pretty good quality Big 12 games.
I don't foresee TNT buying everything. Like, you're still going to have partnerships with Fox and ESPN. That's just the reality. But TNT coming in and saying, we want to buy 2 football games a week. We're going to get 15 basketball games, Big 12 basketball games this coming season on TNT. And I have a feeling those are going to be incredible quality as well. And so listen,
I think they're going to be similar to the CBS Sports Network games where it's stuff that otherwise would have been on ESPN Plus. Yeah. I don't think they're getting Houston KU on TNT.
No. I mean, I'm talking about the
quality of broadcast. Okay,
not necessarily of the broadcast. I'm not talking about the quality of the game. I'm talking again. With
BYU,
the football,
Iowa State's not going on TNT.
No,
it's going to be K-State versus Cincinnati.
Arizona State, UCF, come on down. Sorry,
but this all goes back to.
I mean, the fans are going to love watching it on TNT.
This all goes back to they are putting the time, effort, and money into the production. You Bob, you make the comment about the score bug. I don't know anybody who watches sports who doesn't care about the score bug. Like when it's bad, everyone hates it and everyone comments. They're like, you'll turn on the
Fox
Super Bowl
football.
and be a terrible score bug, and that's the first thing you'll see on Twitter for 30 minutes. It's like, who made this? Who said this was a good idea? And so the fact that TNT has done such a good job and seems to want to continue to invest in the Big 12, like, y'all, this, when someone wants you and they're going to spend the money on you and treat you right, show them the appreciation. That's the thing. Like, we sit here like, we're going to complain about ESPN and Fox. Okay, if you want less ESPN and Fox, then invest the time in TNT so they'll invest more in the Big 12 conference. That is the overall take here. They're never going to buy everything. You're always going to have ESPN. You're always going to be on ESPN Plus. You're always going to have Fox stuff involved. But the more quality content we can get on TNT, who's producing a quality broadcast, that is good for the Big 12. And so just show the love back to those who are showing love to you. That's the overall point of this. Final note before we get to games. I did listen to some of the national podcasts while I was mowing this morning. About the only Big 12 talk I really heard was a short shout out to Cincinnati, buried an hour and 30 into a show, and another podcast complaining about Bear Bachmeier's jersey number like it's, the off season still. We don't have anything else to talk about. I will shout out SCD, Split Some Duo. They do their run through as many games as possible, and they hit some of the Big 12 ones if you can wait till about, 3/4 of the way through the show, like everything else. And I understand there's no Oregon, Penn State in the Big 12 this week. There's no Alabama, Georgia. I get it. But y'all, I'm not trying to say just listen to us, but listen to your Big 12 shows, okay? All right, if you're spending all your time listening to the national ones, like before you dive in and listen to the whole thing, unless you just love the people who are on the show, and I get it, you like college football, go ahead and go look at those time codes and see where the Big 12 stuff is, and maybe just listen to that part, or just be like, nah, I'm going to go listen to the shows that want to talk about the Big 12 off the top of the show, not, hey, you know what, we got to do what everyone else is doing. Oregon, Penn State. I don't care about Oregon, Penn State. That's great. It wasn't the only overtime game this weekend. We had some of the Big 12 as well. So why don't we talk about those now? Listen, every team in the Big 12 has now played at least 4 games, including a conference game. So I want to ask each of you this. What are you most confident in about the Big 12 through 5 weeks of the season? Bobby, why don't you start us off here?
What am I most confident in is that just like we thought heading into the season, it's just pure chaos. That if you're trying to say who you think is going to win this conference right now, I would lean towards Texas Tech. But let's be honest, if Iowa State beat them, won the conference, would you be surprised? The only constant in the Big 12 is chaos. And that's kind of what I can lean towards here. What is kind of the thought is anyone can text the leader right now, but would you be surprised if they lost 2 games in this conference? Maybe. So yeah, that's kind of my thought just watching this. I was talking to myself while I was watching the games, and I'm checking the scores, doing all this stuff, and I looked around, and every Big 12 game felt fairly close. You had a pretty good BYU team against an okay Colorado team, and you saw them struggle against them. You see U of H beat that Colorado team. I don't think there's many people who would say that U of H is definitively better than BYU, because you watch that U of H team struggle against a fairly bad Oregon State team, and that U of H team pretty much put Colorado away pretty easily. And then that Colorado team goes against BYU and looks good against them. It's just chaos. I love this league. This league is so much fun. It is just pure chaos. That's kind of my kind of going through it, looking at common opponents, things like that. It's just no one has any idea right now.
Sam?
At the risk, I was going to say, to avoid parroting Bobby's answer, I'm going to say that TCU is going to continue to be maddening, but also at times unstoppable offensively, which was that's kind of the nature of their OC. Like he schemed up some great offenses, and a lot of those great offenses, you could find data points from those seasons where they just went completely missing for reasons that are still kind of hard to fathom, which you saw, I would say, for probably a good chunk of the second half out there in Tempe against Arizona State, which I expect them to be around the top of the league, though, kind of like you said pretty well, Bobby, it's it's hard to say. Really hard to say, other than maybe Texas Tech, that there's a real favorite around there, and even Texas Tech, you don't say it with like a lot of confidence. So I'm gonna say TCU is going to be entertaining, usually pretty pointsy, and also kind of maddening, which was kind of our read on them. Bobby, would you say in the preseason? And I would say through this point in the season, they've kind of lived up to that in this league where it's kind of impossible to really predict anything or feel confident about what a team's going to do week to week necessarily.
I love the term pointsy. Nice job, Sam. Scott.
Yeah, it's I don't have a great eloquent way to say it, but like you can never turn a Big 12 game off, right? Like I'm confident in that. Yes, blowouts are going to happen, but there were moments, in that Baylor-Oklahoma State game where it's like, well, damn, Oklahoma's, big play here. All of a sudden you're like, maybe they make this a game. Sure, it didn't in the end, but you look back to the last two games that Arizona State's played in, going down to the wire when in both of those games you're thinking, hey, it could get out of hand one way or another. You think back to what was going back and forth between KU Cincinnati. Again, you think to Iowa State, one of these teams that on paper you're thinking, hey, maybe they're going to run the table. They easily could have lost in Jonesboro versus Arkansas State if it wasn't for a handful of pretty advantageous calls that they got from the referees there. Any game, there is not a single team who you think is safe with a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. Any game can turn upside down just at the snap of a finger. So that's what makes the Big 12 so fun, and I'm confident in that. I can't even come up with anything else because it wouldn't shock me if Texas Tech ended up losing 3 or 4 games down the stretch. It wouldn't shock me if KU ended up still finding a way to win 8 or 9 wins. It wouldn't shock me if Houston is playing in Arlington. Nothing could shock me. The only thing that I'm 100% certain of is you can never turn off a Big 12 game.
It would shock me, to be fair, if Houston was in Arlington.
Yeah. I can come up with some shocking scenarios here. I think I could probably. All right, we're gonna do a segment next week called "Let's Shock
Doug
Scott."
Meacham gets Oklahoma State to a bowl game with a defensive coordinator who ended as a Lawrence High head coach with a 3-game losing streak and finished 11th place in the Sunflower League. That's the defensive coordinator. And dang it, I'm going to say I wouldn't be shocked if Oklahoma State's in a bowl game. I'm leaning all into it, Phillip.
That's fine.
I might be a little bit.
All right,
sorry.
As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
I am confident that Iowa State and Texas Tech are the two best teams in the Big 12. I think there are other teams who are also really good, but I have a lot of questions about it. For instance, I can't put Utah in the category until they play a good game against a good team. No offense, but they got blown out in the one good game they played. That was at home against Texas Tech. No shot at West Virginia, but they are beat up. They went to this game down their starting quarterback, their top 3 running backs, 2 of their top 4 receivers, 3 starting offensive linemen, and their co-starter at tight end. They had to switch quarterbacks in this game. And shout out to our good friends at Raspy Voice Kids. I know you're all on board with the quarterback, but there is one of those absolute college football bingo cards is quarterback comes in second half of game, has incredible game, will suck next week. We all know it, okay? There's tape on him now. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. But I need Utah to play a good game against a good team. I think that will eventually happen. Yeah, they got Arizona State coming to town next week. There we go. We'll find out about Utah. I think it is a pretty good one. I can't put BYU there. I know it was a close win where Colorado trailed by as many as 14, or the Cougars trailed by as many as 14, but BYU also left 6 to 10 points on the field with a missed field goal and a turnover on downs at the Colorado 38. I don't think BYU is bad, but I think they are, how do I put this? They're better than I thought they would be in the offseason, given the change at quarterback, but they still have a lot to prove to me. And so again, talking about teams that ain't played nobody, and that's kind of the problem for the Big 12 right now, is a lot of the teams are like, hey, no, they're good. Okay? You beat Portland State, Stanford, East Carolina, Colorado barely. You get West Virginia this week. Hello, 5-0 BYU. Then you're going to go to Arizona. It's going to take 6 weeks. This is the hard part about the college football. You get 12 games. You're supposed to make decisions about these teams with a quarter of a season's worth of data, which is 3 games. We will know more about BYU in a couple of weeks when we see them against somebody who is good. I can't put Houston there yet. Props to them for the comeback win over Oregon State. It was the first game outside of Houston, Texas. They trailed 24-10 on the road in the fourth quarter against a meh Oregon State team, but scored 2 touchdowns in the final 6 minutes of regulation to tie it and then got the win. Look, I like Houston. Before the season, there was one of those teams I was like, this team, if I had to pick a team to be a pain in the ass team that everyone's going to hate having to play, that's going to pull off an upset here or there, that's going to drive other teams crazy, it's absolutely going to be the Willie Fritz-led Houston Cougars. I still feel pretty confident about that, the way they've looked so far, and so I'm not going to overreact to one road blip, their first road game of the season. I know they went on the road to Rice. It's down the street. It doesn't count. I'm interested in Houston. I'm interested. I'm very interested in them this year. It's bowl game. It's bowl game for sure. The question there becomes, how much better can they be? Sam, Bobby, I know that it was a tight game. They had to massive comeback. I know Oregon State's not good, but Oregon State's played some really good teams. It's Houston's first time leaving the city of Houston, not just the state of Texas, the city of Houston. I'm a little bit surprised it was as close as it was, but what's the saying? Win your clunkers. They won their clunker. They're 4-0. God, it's hard not to feel good about Houston right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just, can they, we call ourselves the Cardiac Cougs. It's one of the jokes that we've had. I was actually explaining it to my mom earlier today, as weird as that sounds. But, you've seen flashes of good things. You've seen flashes of bad things. You've seen this defense be really freaking good against teams like Colorado. You saw them play really well against Rice, a Rice offense that's okay, breaking in a new system, running the option. But you've seen this offense just absolutely look atrocious. Just look at that Oregon State game just in and of itself. The versus SFA, that offense looked terrible in the first half as well. Against Rice, it looked okay in the first half. It seems that it comes out and kind of starts slow. The problem was it didn't pick up in the third quarter either for U of H versus Oregon State. So if you're going to play this Big 12 schedule as close as you want it to, if you want to compete with Texas Tech and while I don't think U of H is at the point where they're, on the same level as a Texas Tech or even a Utah, somebody like that, BYU maybe, what you just want to see is them put it together for 4 quarters. The defense, we thought, it was a solid defense last year, a pretty good defense last year, and we expected them to take a step back. A couple of guys went and got paid at SEC and ACC schools, and so you just kind of expected that defense to take a step back, and I'd argue it's just as good, if not better, than it was last year so far. And so you saw the offense take a small step forward. It all comes down to Connor Wigman at this point. How he goes is how the Cougs go. You really saw those touchdowns to kind of come back against Oregon State. You really saw the offense run with some tempo, and I'd be really interested to see if Coach Fritz and offensive coordinator Slade Nagel are going to try and do that again in the future.
Yeah, what I would add is the good thing before this season, I said this at least a couple times when we previewed the team, is that this offense was so horrific in 2024 that Connor Wigman doesn't have to live up to every bit of his high school hype to be, I think, exciting prospect for the fans. He just has to be like the 11th or 12th best quarterback in the Big 12, and he would still be just a dramatic upgrade over what you got at the position last year. And he's been that. I would say he's probably been about 11th or 12th best. But there have been flashes. And Bobby and I say after pretty much we haven't done an episode together about this specific game, the Oregon State game, but there's always at least multiple throws where we're just like, oh yeah, there's nobody in this roster who was making that last year the way Connor Wigman just made it. And also just weapons in support of him. Tanner Koziol, Amari Thomas, both coming in from the portal as well. Dean Connors from Rice, though not as much against Oregon State. So I think Bobby and I's baseline before the season, didn't we both say 7-5, Bobby, as a regular season record? I feel like this start makes that, at this point, the baseline. Like, at this point, you just have to find 3 more wins in the schedule. And I'm pretty confident, even if the flaws that Bobby and I have both kind of sussed out here really become terminal, like you don't get much better at some of the things that you've been not so great at the start of the season, I think there are 3 more wins in the schedule, and even more likely, probably somewhere around 4.
Yeah, I think heading into the season, the goal I thought the obtainable goal for this team was 6-6. Just make it to a bowl game. That's a ton of progress from what you saw year 1. And as the season's gone on and you kind of look at the schedule, I know Sam and I had kind of talked and we were like, 8-4 is kind of possible with this schedule. You start 4-0, and then you can pick off a couple of Big 12 games. Phillip, to your point, it's very much U of H is going to be the team nobody wants to play. I would imagine Baylor's kind of looking at that last game of the season, hoping that they have a trip to Arlington already picked out and ready to go. So they're not playing that game, because I really truly do feel like U of H could be in every Big 12 game left in the season. I don't see the Cougs losing by 2 touchdowns or something like that going forward.
Yeah, no more shout outs like last year. Those are done. I don't think that's happening, which is good. TCU gets out to a 17-0 lead in the first half against Arizona State. Can't take advantage of ASU's mistakes, including 2 missed field goals and various other miscues. Disastrous fourth quarter for the Horned Frogs, and Arizona State again for the second straight week escapes a win in Big 12 play, 27-24. This is the beginning of the gauntlet for Arizona State. The schedule is not their friend. You open Big 12 play at Baylor, then you host a TCU, and then you're going to go to Utah, then you're going to host Texas Tech, then you're going to host Houston, and then you're going to Iowa State. Like, if Arizona State finds some way to get through this absolute slog of the next few weeks, the way the schedule stacks up at the end of the year, we haven't seen a repeat Big 12 title game contender since Oklahoma did it in 3 straight years when it came back in 2017. There's no one been there back-to-back years. Iowa State's sitting there knocking at the door. Arizona State, if we're not giving up a 58-yard touchdown with 30 seconds left in the game to Blake frickin' Shapen, would be sitting here undefeated as well. Like, there is chaos in the Big 12. And there's a lot of football to be played. Folks, a lot of football to be played. But there are some certain things that are starting to take shape. And despite Arizona State's issue with penalties and penalty yardage and just continued miscues, like I don't understand what it is about this team, they keep finding ways to win. Another 17 penalties for 56 yards. They lost a fumble. This team just keeps finding ways. It is incredible. Like, at some point it will stop. But this is credit to coaching. This is credit to an experienced roster who won so many close games last year. Count out Arizona State at your own risk. You know what Arizona State is now? You know what they are? They're the new Oklahoma State. Because they're just going to find ways to win close games, and it's going to irritate you to no end. That is what Oklahoma State used to do all the time with Mike Gundy. Win close games, win close games, win close games, win close games. Right now, Arizona State has taken that mantle and run with it, and Oklahoma State is a dumpster fire. So, sorry to TCU. You just got, pitchforked again, like everyone else keeps seeming to be done. Huh?
Yeah, dillied for Dillingham.
Oh, dillied? Oh, dillied. Okay, can we bring back the dilly commercials? Because it seems appropriate for, I don't know why, fans. Arizona State fans, just start chanting dilly after wins, okay? Scott, am I way off base here on ASU?
No, you're not. And again, I came into this season thinking that exactly what has happened at Arizona State was going to happen without the miraculous wins, right? I was every show I went on, I pointed at them and I said, look, I don't think Sam Leavitt is as good as the billing. I don't think Dillingham is as good as the billing. I think it was all Cam Scadaboo, and it's all going to come crashing down. Now, where I'm wrong, 100% wrong, because their offense has been anemic until it matters most. And Dillingham, his teams have seemed very undisciplined until it happens when they need it most, right? They're addicted to be playing in these games. And coming out and finding a way to win at quarterback and head coach. There is something I know sports science has tried to dispel the clutch gene, right? They've tried to say all this stuff. Oh, it doesn't matter. No, it matters. And when you have a team that believes in their quarterback and their coach, and they've been together through a lot of highs last year, some of those guys the year before, some lows, there's something about a team DNA that can overcome these shortcomings, and you find a way to win the games you're not supposed to. And again, they have whatever it is. They have Mike's magic stuff. Whatever it is, they seem to have it. Will it eventually run out? Everything says yes. Eventually, the one-score game luck, comes back on you. Eventually, all the turnovers and the penalties, it comes back on you. The slow starts comes back on you. But until you see it, just like you said, you have to think they're going to keep doing it. So pick against them at your own peril. If you're a sports gambler, maybe, start doing Arizona State live betting. You might make some money unless the luck runs out this week. But there is something. I wish I knew how to put my finger on it. I wish my team had it. But they seem to have the special sauce. And if you're an Arizona State fan, you got to enjoy the ride and hope it doesn't stop anytime soon.
All right, we're going to run through it. Oh, go ahead, Bobby or Sam.
Oh,
Bobby.
I was just going to say, and then you kind of look at their who they have played. That loss to Mississippi State really doesn't look as bad as it might have looked earlier in the season. No. Mississippi State played Tennessee really close there.
Should have won.
Last week. Yeah, should have won that game. So overall, I think that Mississippi State team's better than we probably think or thought at the time. So maybe not as bad of a loss as we kind of thought.
We're going to run through a few more here real quick. Cincinnati with a big win, as we mentioned, on TNT over Kansas. Cincinnati, Scott Satterfield era, finally gets a win in a close game. That was a great showing between Jalen Daniels and Brendan Sorsby. Like, an absolutely great game. That was a phenomenal football game. Like, I hope people watched it because it was just a phenomenal football game.
I would argue the most entertaining game in the early slot on Saturday. It was very good finish.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. Phenomenal game.
We like to kind of poke at Scott Satterfield and his scores in one-score games. I hate to be that guy because I'm the one wearing purple. Does KU have a Lance Leipold issue when it comes to one-score games? I mean, if you want to give Scott Satterfield that sort of trouble, look at his record in one-score games. It is abysmal. I think it's like 1-8 at KU. That might not be 100% accurate. It might be, but it's bad. It's bad. So if we want to throw shade at Scott Satterfield, I just feel like this should be an equal opportunity podcast and say the same thing about Lance Leipold. And also ignore K-State and all the one-score losses we've had this season.
Kansas State with the big win over UCF. Is this, Scott, I'll ask you this, is it a turnaround for Kansas State, or is this just a home win over a bad team?
I'd like to, I want to be optimistic. Let's see what happens versus Baylor. If we were to go into Waco and win that game, and then you have homecoming versus TCU, I might be singing a different tune. I'm trying to take an optimistic point of view. We saw some stuff that we've been wanting to see. Avery Johnson take off, run a little bit more, scramble a little bit more. You saw some creative play calling. We had 5 plays in that game where we had the backup quarterback Blake Barnett in there as a running back. They were doing some weird things. Our 5-star tight end recruit, first 5-star recruit in K-State history, his first recorded stat was an interception that he threw. All sorts of wild stuff going on in the game. I'd like to say it's a turning point, but I'm not confident in that. So no, I think it's just beating a worse team while at home.
Baylor fans concerned with the defense after allowing Oklahoma State to score 27 points. I have concerns about Baylor's defense, but it's not because of Saturday. Look, Oklahoma State actually decided to open up some offense just because Mike Gundy wasn't there to decide not to do that. So it's fine. Like it's Baylor's problems are not magnified by Oklahoma State and Doug Meacham actually trying to, get creative and spread the 5 wide out as opposed to just being like, hey, we're going to do the same screen pass, da, 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 da. So, one name to know, Iowa State, Chase Soul, former East Carolina wide receiver, showing up big for them against Arizona. if this is like last year, where your two marquee transfer wide receivers start stepping up after the first month of the season, and then they're just incredible the rest of the way, keep that player's name in the back of your mind, because he could have an incredible year. All right, Scott, Bobby, Sam, you guys are incredible. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, plug the shows. Do it now.
Bob, you're the one who always plugs it for us. You do the outro.
Yep. So we are the Scott and Holman podcast for all of your U of H, University of Houston sports needs. I called it U of H knowing that most people would know, but then I was like, hey, wait a minute, University of Houston. So all your University of Houston sports coverage, we cover it all, from football, basketball, women's basketball, softball, golf, tennis, all of it. You can find us at the Scott and Holman podcast anywhere you find podcasts. You can also find us on social media at SH Podcast, or if you are on Blue Sky, you can find us at podcast.bsky.social. That is podcast, PAWDCAST.
Thank you, fellas. Scott?
Boscoe's Boys, 5 episodes. We talk about all the sports. Had the volleyball coach Jason Mansfield on the show last week. Great interview, great guy. And I just want to say I was the first and only person talking about the Big 12 playing games in Britain. Was talking about it for over a year. People thought I was joking. Sometimes I know stuff. Listen to the show.
Excellent stuff. Guys, as always, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll talk to y'all again soon.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, we move on to our third segment of the show. And I welcome back good friend, Chase A. Kiddy. Chase, it's been a while since I've had a lost episode, but that happened on Wednesday. So anyone who was disappointed by no picks pod, I put the picks out there. There's audio. I'm going to try and get at least some of it pulled from the show. But listen, my schedule has been wacky. And so this is why I do these and try to get the done in one night, because if I have to do it into further into the day, it just doesn't always get done.
Would you be pulling the audio at all if Parker and I had not led an intense social media campaign to #release the audio?
Yeah, because there's a couple of segments I wanted to pull. I was going to do the OSU conversation. I was going to do you guys' random conversation about James Madison. There were a few other points when I could pay attention to what was going on that I thought were pretty solid. So I was going to try and pull some of those. But I appreciate the campaign. It's always a joy to be berated by your friends on social about an episode that was awful. The audio quality, bad. Chunks missing. Not good.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a betting show on Wednesday. If I was going to bet on who was going to have the bad audio, my money would have been on the bearded man from Montana. With with all due respect to Missoula's infrastructure grid. I don't know. Guess I would have been wrong.
I guess I could blame him and just say it's because we had Parker on. We'll find out because we'll get him back. Only thing worse than the audio quality was our picks this week. We'll talk about that on Thursday's Picks Pod. Chase, what outcome this weekend had the biggest impact on your views of that team or the conference as a whole?
Well, look, it's obviously Cincinnati. I mean, I don't know who else you could possibly say in this spot this week. And people aren't going to hear the audio of us slandering Cincinnati, and maybe that's for the best. I have to say, I can't take a victory lap on this. I didn't say it in the lost audio files, but I play College Football Survivor on Splash, and initially I had Kansas this week, and I pulled Kansas off because something about that line, it was a way shorter line than I thought it was going to be. It was under 7. It was moving towards Cincinnati all week. I think it closed at 4.5. It just freaked me out. I said on the show last week, I don't know what this line is. This feels like it's way too low. I'm just going to do the easy thing and take Kansas because I should be laying at least a touchdown here. I stand by that. I think Kansas is the better team. But you were looking for a result from Cincinnati. They're allegedly more talented. They're allegedly moving up into that upper half of the Big 12 pack this year. But you needed to see the result that really affirmed that. And you got it. You got it with a 37-34 win. I didn't get to watch it live. I had to go back and see large pieces of it. It was a sick ending, and it was a coin flip game that goes Cincinnati's way. And I think that's what a lot of programs that are sort of hovering in the middle need, is they need the coin flip to go their way. And now, I think it would be shocking if Cincinnati's like in the top 3 or 4 teams at the end of the year. But you got to take them seriously. They're on that level now. You got to take them very seriously this year if you're playing the Bearcats.
Speaking of Cincinnati and weird lines, because I think the team that I'm even more excited about is Iowa State, because we finally saw the offense like really, really show up against Arizona. And if Chase Saul is going to play like that moving forward, I mean, I feel even better about them as the best team in the Big 12. But I look ahead to next weekend, and I look here on the ESPN app, and Cincinnati is currently a 1.5-point favorite at home to Iowa State on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Help me here.
Well, I mean, you know what the trend says. The trend says you play the Cincinnati side of that. I'm sure we'll talk more about that Wednesday. It does feel like that's a little overreactive to the Kansas win. But Iowa State has these weird games where they go on the road and they lose to teams they probably shouldn't lose to, and maybe that's what this is. I haven't done any work on the game yet, so that's just first blush. But this is it compares a lot to last week in that that's a weird line. I don't think Cincinnati is the better team. I question what's going on with the valuation here to get to that number. If you told me pick a team to win, Iowa State or Cincinnati, I would pick Iowa State just the same as I would pick Kansas last week. But if you feel that weirdness, I think you have to lean into the weirdness generally in college football betting. So interesting position there. I would not be surprised if I'm on Cincinnati on Wednesday when we do the pick spot.
I do have to wonder if it has anything to do with like Iowa State got beat up on Saturday. Like the injuries just kept happening. Like Rocco Beck, Dominic Orange, Deshaun James, John Tez Williams were all taken out of the game at one point or another. Cummings Coleman, I don't think he's going to be back. I don't think you had a lot of like missing multiple weeks or out for the end of the year injuries. You got a lot of guys who had to come off the field after getting beat up in that game against Arizona. And it was enough to make you go, okay, well, this doesn't affect them moving forward. Now, so I just, it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on just because of all those injuries. I will be interested in the injury report for that game when it comes out this week.
I hear you, but how many players do you have to lose if you're Iowa State to account for that level of gap between how you would think the Cyclones would be perceived in the market and how you would think the Bearcats are perceived in the market? You know what? Let's pull up. I do something called Futures Corner if you're reading the blog edition of this conversation. So let's pull up the Big 12 odds and just have some live Futures Corner here just to illustrate what I'm talking about. Iowa State, third in the current table at BetMGM, the Big 12 championship outright futures table, plus 550.
Who's second?
Arizona State plus 425, Texas Tech plus 190. And that's a standings thing, right? Arizona State has the TCU win in pocket now. So and they have the Baylor win in pocket. So those are two like perceived contenders that you're 2-0 against. So you're going to have a nice, number there. Cincinnati. Sure. Remember, Iowa State plus 550. Cincinnati 18-1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down. So they are square in the middle of the pack as far as the market's concerned, along with Baylor at 16-1, Houston at 20-1, Kansas 25-1. So that to me is a correct representation of the distance between those two teams. Now you're telling me that the team that's third in the table is catching points against Cincinnati. It seems a little off to me. The number seems a little off to me. Yes. But historically, I do the weird thing there. So
yeah, that's odd. We'll keep an eye on that line. Of course, we'll make our picks Wednesday night, and the picks pod will be up on Thursday. And that will be one to keep an eye on. I feel like it's probably going to shift towards Iowa State by the time we talk again on Wednesday, but we will see. Who is give me? Which team are you down on the most after Saturday?
It's not that West Virginia lost. It's not that West Virginia lost badly. I think we expected those things, especially when the game kicks off and you're like, okay, Utah has Dampier and West Virginia is out Nico and a ton of guys. Like, that's the result you kind of would have expected, is just getting run off their own field by a good team. So none of that is surprising. I think the thing that forces me to recontextualize West Virginia down is it's that, and UCF's looked pretty good. Arizona's looked pretty good. The bottom of the conferences looked pretty good. And so that leaves West Virginia kind of alone in Poop Town. I mean, maybe we put your guys in there too if you want. But
oh no, you should.
But I mean, those my squad and your squad, we can have a pity party here. Like, they don't look good, you know. I like right now looking at the outright. Colorado is 250-1 and West Virginia is 250-1. One of those teams looks a lot better than the other right now. Like, that's kind of insulting to Colorado, in my opinion. So I just think this is, when you look at West Virginia, it looked like maybe they would be a little more live and maybe they would have more company at the bottom. And because of the injuries, they just look totally dead right now. And the other teams that were expected to be quite bad are nowhere near quite bad based on what we've seen. So it's West Virginia for me.
Yeah, definitely not nearly as bad as, I mean, I don't think UCF's good.
Right.
But they're a bit better than I thought they'd be.
They're
Arizona's
been competent.
A lot better. Yeah. Arizona's been a lot better than I thought they would be.
Sure.
At this point, it's OSU and West Virginia.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Sad boys. 10-12 sad boys.
All right. Any other takeaways from the weekend, Chase?
You know, I had a lot of action this week. Big 12 and beyond. Just some miserable beats. Not just betting, too. I mean, look, nobody cares about your fantasy team and all that. I played a guy who played the backup running back for the Steelers and the backup running back for the Ravens, and he got 60 points out of those two players. What is that? That's nonsense. 60. Two backup running backs. What is that? I had under in Penn State, Oregon. It was 10-3 at the end of the third quarter. Under 52. Loss. Just a lot of nonsense this weekend. Somehow still came out ahead. I had one big bet on the JMU Georgia Southern under that really got me over the hump in the spreadsheet. But oh boy, a lot of nonsense.
Woof. All right, Jace. It's been a pleasure. We will talk to you again on Wednesday and have our pick spot up on Thursday. And hopefully this one won't be lost to the podcasting ether.
Hopefully.
All right. Let's look ahead to the weekend ahead. It's week 6 of the 2025 season. Two teams are off this week, Arizona State and Utah. Good time to take a break for both those teams and have an opportunity to rest and get ready for some interesting runs for both. Week 6 starts on Friday again with some Big 12 After Dark. BYU hosting West Virginia with a 9:30 p.m. God's time kickoff. That means 10:30 p.m. Morgantown time. Woof. On Saturday, morning slate offers a Cincinnati hosting Iowa State. That's that game that we mentioned. Very interested in that game. Also, Baylor hosting Kansas State. Scott kind of mentioned that one a little bit. Afternoon gives us Arizona hosting Oklahoma State. It's our TNT game this week. So while I would expect it to be a bit of a blowout, turn it on. Even if you're not going to watch it, just have it on one of the TVs in the house. Get those viewership numbers up. Don't care if you watch it on TNT, True TV, HBO Max, streaming, cable, whatever. Put the game on. 3 night games, all at basically the same time. Thanks a lot, everybody. Texas Tech at Houston at 6 o'clock on ESPN. TCU hosting Colorado. That Texas Tech at Houston is an interesting game to me. TCU hosting Colorado at 6:30 p.m. on Fox. UCF hosting Kansas 6:30 on ESPN2. So a good weekend of Big 12 action, some interesting games, some games that maybe don't sound interesting, but could be. UCF Kansas could be an interesting one. Texas Tech at Houston could be a very interesting one. And of course, watch TNT. Watch TNT. Y'all, we'll talk to you again on Thursday. Thanks so much for watching, for listening. Have a good week.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.